I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delving into the chilling world of an amazing book. It is called Dying to Ski, a Mary MacIntosh novel by Maureen Meehan. In the snowy peaks of Jackson Hole, a pharmaceutical mogul's death stirs a blizzard of betrayal and deceit as defense attorney Mary MacIntosh races against time to uncover the truth. Join us right now as we explore how Maureen's real-life experiences as a judge and a lawyer and her personal tragedy inspire her gripping mystery series. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Maureen, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Mary MacIntosh sounds a lot like Maureen Meehan. Is this kind of like a persona for you in your novels?
It didn't start out that way. It started out, what actually happened is my legal secretary was murdered in 1996, and it was foreseeable, it was preventable, and it was something that haunted me. And I started writing shortly thereafter, therapeutically, to keep Lisa alive. And she was stabbed to death in a very horrible way by her estranged former husband. And so actually the character looks like her. It's my envision of her. And then over time, I think, therapeutically, I kept writing for years and years. And it probably became more of my persona than hers over time. However, it didn't start out that way. It started out just trying to keep somebody alive in my life that I tragically missed.
That is a unbelievable backstory to all of this. Dying to Ski is the latest Mary MacIntosh novel.
It's the first Mary
Oh,
MacIntosh
it's the
novel.
first. Okay.
There's six in the series. So we start off with Dying to Ski, set in Jackson Hole on the ski slopes. Pharmaceutical partners, one of them dies, and the partner's accused of his murder. And the plot twists are pretty exciting. It takes you all the way to Bali and back, and it's kind of a global reach for that one. The second book is Snake River Secret. That is actually the legal secretary is murdered in that one, and they're trying to figure out why. And she's involved in kind of a shady business deal, again in Jackson Hole. And it delves into Native American private airstripped, and it's really quite, it brings in her persona as a Native American, which I really respect. Our Native Americans in Wyoming, we have a lot of tribes, and they're an important aspect of the state of Wyoming. The next one is Powder River Poison. It's actually based on a true story that happened outside of my hometown of Sheridan, Wyoming. And if you've ever heard of the horse whisperer, that's Buck Brannaman. Buck is a horse trainer in my hometown, and his ranch is there, and somebody bought the mineral rights under his property. This is a true story. And they drilled fracking, and it ruined his business for a while because of all the drilling on his land. It scared his horses. He had to move everyone to New York, everything, the whole production to New York, to other people's ranches, so he could, whisper or train these horses. So that's based on a true story that happened, that really did poison the Powder River in Wyoming. The fourth one is Pandemic Predator. I wrote it in 2008. It's about a serial killer who it starts in Wyoming, but what this man does, and it's based on a true story back then, which is kind of foretelling. He takes the H1N5 bird flu, and he infects women all over the world with it, which globally shuts down the entire population. So it's COVID before COVID.
Right.
So then the next one is Poison by Proxy. It's a Munchausen by proxy case based in Sheridan, Wyoming, and it would be Munchausen is a strange psychological disease, and the wife is accused of poisoning her youngest of 4 children. And it turns out it may have been somebody else doing something else for a different reason, but it's a great story. in the sense that these things really exist, and it's really hard
Yeah.
to figure out who's on first with Munchausen by proxy. The last one's called The Five. It's also based in Wyoming, and it takes place in a cabin. We have a family cabin, and
Mhm.
it's based basically there, but it's
Mhm.
about five college roommates who are to get together for a reunion, and a serial killer, which is again based on a true story out of Rhode Island.
Hmm.
Uh, he gets released at age 21 despite his crimes when he was as young as 12, and he continues on his murder plot.
Mhm.
Anyhow, those are that's the Mary MacIntosh series.
Well,
So all six of those are they're all Wyoming based and ripe for content.
amazing, amazing. I'm getting chills hearing about all this stuff because I'm a journalist, and so I'm kind of exposed to the same things that you're exposed to, where we get a lot of great material for our novels. And that's
Yeah.
what you seem like to have mined there. Your real life experiences and high profile case. I even know the case you're talking about in Rhode Island. It was a 12-year-old. He was about
Yeah.
6'3" and
Yeah.
250 pounds at 12 years old, and he murdered somebody. I forget, his name was Craig something or other, and that
Yeah.
actually helped change the laws of treating juveniles as adults.
It did change the laws, and it took a long time for some states to catch up with the changing laws, so that when kids were, even just regardless of their crimes, at age 21, they were released from juvenile detention. And that's what happened with this young man. And he continued on a spree. And
Mm.
in fact, those laws were intact in Wyoming as well. That's why I was able to bring this plot to Wyoming and retell the story. And the laws have changed. They've caught up, and now you are tried as an adult. But back then it's penal code 12. If you're presumed innocent,
Right,
up until a certain age, 12. But
exactly.
it's pretty frightening that you can kill people and at 21 be released.
Exactly. And when you're 12 years old and you have the body of a man, you're acting like a man, you're threatening to kill people, and you go into a neighbor's house, and I think he brutally murdered the
Brutally.
family. Yeah. But I do remember the case because I was a news
Yeah.
reporter in Providence for a while. So that's how I recall it. I worked on that story. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit. Let's talk about the first of the Mary MacIntosh series, Dying to Ski.
Yeah.
Give a little bit more of the elevator pitch, if you will, of what the book is about.
So I wrote this, obviously. I started writing it in 97, 8, right in that back then. I had their pharmaceutical drug and a erectile dysfunction drug.
Mhm.
And back when that was, I don't even know if it was really a thing back then. If it was, I wasn't super aware of it. But uh, I always, there are certain drugs on the market. For example, Snake River Secrets about Botox. I wrote that in 2000. It really wasn't a big drug at the time, but it was an up and coming. But so Dying to Ski is based on this erectile dysfunction drug that this pharmaceutical partners have promoted, created, uh, and they one of the partners is taking the drug to Asia and selling it sort of on the black market,
Mhm.
and he's getting in trouble for it, and the feds are coming down on him for selling something or promoting something that you shouldn't be doing outside of your market that you're entitled to sell, and
Mhm.
competing in other markets. And these business partners have a falling out over it. But
Mhm.
they go skiing, and one of them doesn't make it through the chute in Jackson
Mhm.
Hole. And if you've ever skied Jackson, it's challenging. If you go to the top and you ski 4,000 vertical down, you're skiing chutes, and
Right.
it's hard. And so one of them, Preston, doesn't make it down the chute.
Hmm.
And it's assumed that it's a skiing accident, but the autopsy reveals it's not.
Great. It's a great way to kill somebody. And a lot of great visuals there. Jackson Hole is an amazing town
It's
and an
beautiful.
amazing ski resort as well.
It really is.
I need to
Yeah.
talk to you right now about one of your most recent endeavors, a book called 60 Dates in 6 Months. It sounds great. It sounds like it's a
Here
makings
she
of a
is.
novel, and there it is, 60 dates. Did you
60
did
dates
you go
in
on
six
60
months.
dates in 6 months?
I did. So my husband passed away 10 years ago
I'm
of
sorry.
a rare cancer. And it's taken me a while to get my
Mhm.
head around, getting back out in the world. I was 48 when he passed. And So fast forward, I'm 58, and I
Mhm.
decided to go get back out there. And my kids are all four of my kids are on board with that now, and and so I went on some dating apps, and it's been miserable. It's just been awful. And so I took all these notes because you do have to write everything down, figure out who these people are, and you have to talk to a lot of people, text with a lot of people. It's
Right.
really a time-consuming endeavor, but I most of my dates were hiking dates, and I would
Right.
meet someone on a trail. I would let a couple friends know where I'm meeting, what time, and when I'm on my way back. But I did a lot of hiking dates, primarily a few coffee dates, one or two dinner dates, not a lot.
Right.
But they weren't good. I mean,
Right.
people didn't look how their pictures looked,
Mm.
or they said they were fit and they meant to say fat, or and I'm very athletic. So I mean,
Right.
I've done the Ironman, I've done countless marathons. So for me, fit is fit.
Right.
And when you're 30 pounds overweight, that's not what we negotiated. So um so anyhow, I started just I come home from my hiking date, and I would write a nickname for this person because they weren't who they said they were, or they said they're a jogger, they're not. They said they're a skier, they're not. There's a
Right.
million things that are wrong with this scenario. And so I started thinking with my girlfriend, like, this is funny. All these nicknames
Mm.
are hilarious. So that is the impetus of this book. Is I wrote 60 dates in 6 months with a broken neck. I fell in January in my kitchen, just fell backwards, just a fluke accident, and I broke my neck.
Wow.
And I had to have one of my sons come home from Tucson to help me. But in the process of this, I said, Chase, you're gonna have to go on my phone. I have 3 dates set up this weekend, and I need you to like push them out a little bit. I need a few days to get out of the ICU. And so, of course, my son, instead of being my daughter would have explained, she fell, this is what happened, she's really sorry. My son just says she broke her neck, she can't make it.
Exactly. It sounds like mom's dead. I gotta
And
go. Yeah.
these guys are like, I've heard a lot of excuses for canceling a date, but
Right.
broken neck, that's new. And I'm like, Chase,
Exactly.
you can't just be that blunt. You got to explain. He's like, no, mom, I really, no.
Amazing. Amazing. So out of those 60 dates in 6 months, there were no winners.
No.
Amazing. Amazing. And were you obviously you were screening, right? You were like, this person looks like a really good guy or
Yeah.
handsome or fit or
Oh, no. I interviewed them at length before I would even meet them on a hiking trail.
yeah.
But
Because that's a little
I,
bit of a scary date too. I mean, because hiking trails can be lonely, right?
yeah, I mean, I picked very busy ones. Like by
Good.
where I live by the beach in Laguna. And
Hmm.
so I picked a very busy hiking trail, so very
Right.
public, and my friends knew where I was, and
Right.
it's somewhere I go a lot. So that's it's just hard. I mean, what do you coffee shops could be? Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. If you're going to run into a nut, you run into a nut. Yeah.
And
But
there's some nuts. There's a lot of nuts.
there are a lot, and 1 in 10, I say.
I would agree with you. I'm
Yeah.
giving it yeah, 90%, maybe okay, but uh,
Right.
so the nicknames are funny. I'm sure you've taken a peek at this book,
Yep.
but I gave everybody a nickname. So the first one starts off with Goodbye Coffee. He should have been a priest. The all dressed up with nowhere to go. I got stood up by a high-end pharmaceutical CEO.
Hmm.
There's I could do not tell me what to do. You're not my cat. This was a guy that told me I probably wasn't in good enough shape to go hiking with him after breaking my neck. I'm like, I think I'm worthy of a hike if I say I am.
That's
So it's there's a lot of really funny titles, but Keep Your Boots On was one of them. I'm like, ooh,
that's
haven't
funny. It
even
sounds
met
like
you
smelly
yet,
feet.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. That's really funny. Were all of them just one dates or did you go on a couple of dates?
A couple were a couple of dates. Most of them were just one.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you hope viewers get out of or readers get out of 60 dates in 6 months?
I hope they get out of it that you gotta keep trying. You gotta stay hopeful. We're all looking for love, and
Mm.
we all deserve love, but it really does take some patience and time, and just don't give up. keep
Right.
trying. I mean, you might have to go on, like my mom said, you might have to kiss 300 toads, but one of these days you're going to kiss a prince, you know?
Exactly, exactly. It's like working for Indeed or ZipRecruiter or something. You got to go through a lot of resumes to find the right candidate, for
Yeah,
sure. And
yeah.
also, being a mature woman, you look great. I never would guess you were 58. Most
Thank
men
you.
your age, I presume, look like they're 78 or 88. That's probably part of
Yes.
the problem also.
It's a problem. It
Yeah,
is a problem,
yeah.
especially out here where people are out in the sun a lot in
Right.
California. A lot of the men look very weathered,
By the
and
time they're
they,
60, their skin's pretty shot. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
they just haven't kept themselves in good order, and so it's hard because you have to admit, I mean, everyone has aesthetic, attraction, and you
Right.
have to be attracted to somebody, and if they look 20 years older than you, it's not going to work. But then again, I have one of my chapters is 31 is not the new 51. This one young man, he said he was 51, he's actually 31. You could tell by the conversation we were having, and he was talking about his mom a lot. I'm like, you don't sound like you're 51. And
Exactly.
so when I said to him, how old are you really? And he said, 31. Is that a problem? I'm like, yeah, I have a 29-year-old son.
Right,
That's a
right.
major problem for me.
That's funny. That's funny. I would start the book
Kind
with
of.
that story. That's a good one for sure. Now you've got a sequel to 60 Dates as
I
well. What's the
do.
sequel called?
So what I did was I created a QR code for the Los Angeles Festival of Books. So when I signed my books for the 60 Dates pitch, I gave out the QR code and I said, it asked one question: tell me your worst date.
Mm,
So I got hundreds of emails from people from the LA Festival of Books with their worst date. And I took that, I
that's
crowdsourced it, if you
great.
will, and I wrote Push You Away. And it's a sequel to 60 Dates, and it's about other people's not very good dating experiences. And it's amazing the depth of the information people were willing to share. And this men, women, all ages. I mean, I had a high school senior boy send
Mm,
me one all the way up to, 80-year-old ladies saying, I've tried and tried, and this is my experience. So I compiled their stories and wrote the sequel, and it's actually equally good. It's in production right now with my same, my publisher. It went through the editing process this past week, and so now it's in production. It'll be out next week. May 20th, I think, is the date it's released. It's just goes to show you you're not alone. We're not
hmm.
alone. Anyone who's
Yeah.
out there trying to date, looking for love, is in the same boat, and the experiences can just be not good. I had
Yeah.
one lady explain how she met this guy, they went on a few dates, she ended up going home with him, and she got up to leave and his wedding ring was on his nightstand. And she said, "Are you
Gosh.
married?" And he said, "Yeah, she's this airline, person, and she's gone 4 days a week." And this
Right.
woman is
What are you
like, "You
supposed to
got to
say?
be
Great, I can have you those 4 days. I mean,
right. Oh, I'm so
yeah.
excited."
Exactly. It's crazy. It's funny. My son is 34, so I'm friends with all of his friends, and they hate the dating apps. In
Oh,
fact,
it's so bad.
yeah,
Go
it's
ahead.
enough to keep them in relationships because they don't want to be quote unquote out there on the dating apps again. Because I
I
guess, like you
know.
said, there's so many liars and gold diggers and people who don't look like their photographs and boring people. And they're swiping left and swiping right, and this one looks great. And when you meet them, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, and in fact, I have had a number of my kids' friends tell me the same thing, that they've just given up,
Yeah,
and they're
they hate
young.
that. Yeah,
They're in their 20s and 30s, and they've given up on dating because it's just miserable.
right,
How
right.
sad,
Yeah, it's
and they
funny.
live
They
in New
don't mind.
York, and
Yeah,
you
they
know,
don't mind being in a relationship. They don't like dating, and they particularly don't like the anonymity of a dating app. So it was a good formula, I guess, for a while, and I guess it's jumped to shark. I don't know, but
it
let.
you know what, the hard part is that you can swipe willy-nilly.
Mhm.
However, and men have complained about this a lot more than women. Women, can click, 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 and they'll get a lot of responses. Men don't get the same responses, and they get really down and out about it.
Right.
That's been my uh, information gathering at this point is that the men just get bummed out over it.
Right.
I mean, and
The
that's too
women
bad
get
because,
bombarded. The women, I believe, get bombarded,
yeah,
and the
the women
men
get
often get
bombarded.
ignored. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not good on either end of
Right.
it.
Right.
Bombarded, you
Exactly.
can't get through the information.
Right.
Ignored, you feel left out. You don't feel like you're accomplishing anything you're trying to accomplish. So I wish I knew
Right.
the answer. The
And,
answer is, I
and
think, just keep trying.
right. And they also, I agree, you have to keep on going out there and kissing those toads and kissing those frogs for sure. But yeah, and then they're often offended by the language, like the woman will use, don't be short, don't be bald, don't live with your mother, don't be unemployed. I mean, that's brutally upfront. And maybe somebody falls into one of those categories. They're like, oh no, they don't like short guys either. But it's
I know, but the hard part is people get ruled out because of one of those things.
right,
And they could be the greatest person in the world and they might be perfect for you. And you ruled them out because of that. You
right.
know what I mean? And that it happens.
Oh yeah. Oh, and don't like Trump and don't like Biden. Those are
Oh my
two other
God.
criterias on there. So
When
it's
they
a
go into politics, I'm just like, uh-oh. Yeah.
exactly,
I mean, there's certain
exactly.
things you should probably not talk about right off out the chute.
Right,
Politics,
exactly. Particularly in this
religion.
polarized age, either you're going to show up at your
Yeah.
date wearing a MAGA hat or not, So
Yeah,
it's
probably
funny.
not. It'd probably
Probably
be better if
not.
you didn't, but
That's funny. Let me ask
no.
you this. Let's say a top movie director like Christopher Nolan came to you and said, you've got a great anthology of work out there. I want to turn one into a movie. Which book would you choose and why?
Excellent question. I think Dying to Ski of my
Mhm.
Mary MacIntosh is the most exciting, and the
Mhm.
plot twists are great, and the location is great, being Jackson Hole and different
Mhm.
places in Bali. So I would say Dying to Ski is probably, of those six, the most compelling to make a movie. Pandemic Predator also is great, because it would bring to date COVID and how isolating that was and how scary it is when something's happening in the world that no one has their head around.
Right.
So those are the two I would think would probably be, you know, the most ripe for content. 60 Dates would be super fun. We've pitched it to Reese Witherspoon so far at Hello Sunshine Production, uh, with her first right of refusal to take it because
Mhm.
I see her making this into a rom-com.
Right.
Uh, and that's my goal. We pitched it to Ellen DeGeneres as far as appearance and Reese Witherspoon. So we're hoping that's the direction it takes, and then the sequel, Push You Away, would fall into that category possibly. But that's kind of content wise how we're approaching this. So uh, I wish Taylor Sheridan was still doing Yellowstone and was interested in doing the Mary MacIntosh series in Wyoming, but I think he's kind of moved into a different genre, which is fine. But there are other people out there who would love to shoot in Wyoming, and Wyoming's a great place to make movies.
It's spectacular. Anywhere you point the camera, you've got an amazing view, an
Yeah, the
amazing
backdrop is
character.
made for you. Yeah,
It is. It is. I was going to say, since there was a 51st dates, 60 dates in 6 months actually probably would be my choice, um, because I think it could be a very, very funny movie and certainly extremely topical. I mean,
it
because
is.
anybody who's single at
Yeah.
one point in their life has turned to these dating apps from Match.com to Tinder to Bumble to whatever else is out there. And, they all have their horror stories and their funny stories and their jokes about it. And so I think that would be a great one.
I do too. I think it would be a great rom-com and very to date. People
Yeah.
would understand and relate to it, whether it's you in the market trying to date or it's your kid or your parent or whatever it is. I think it's a relatable story to the entire population,
Yeah.
no matter where you live.
It is. It is. It was funny. My sister is single and she's about your age and she's fit like you're fit. And she went out on a Match.com date recently, and the guy looked nothing like his picture, and he was at least 30 to 50 pounds heavier than that.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't drink. He was drinking like a fish at lunch. And it's funny, she actually texted her friend about him, but unfortunately, instead of texting a friend, she texted him about him. So we have those kind of mishaps as well. So
Oh,
that can
that
all be
happened.
made into the movie.
Yeah, you really have to really watch the name on your text.
Yeah.
It's easy to, get
You're
Teresa
texting
and
about
Gwen
Maureen, you don't
mixed up.
realize you're texting to Maureen, like, oh
Yeah.
no. And
Uh-oh.
and how
Uh-oh.
do I get out of this?
I guess this one's over.
Exactly, exactly.
I I think I liked him, but I'm sure he's not going to like me after this.
Exactly. Well, she didn't have to worry about that at least. So that's good.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this. We talked about your writing career. I'd love to talk a little bit about your legal career because you're in
Oh,
a fascinating part of it. Part of me feels that a lot of America would be better off if we did more for the mentally ill, if it was
yes.
diagnosed more, if people were institutionalized when need be.
Yeah.
I was wondering what your take on this, and tell the folks at home what you do as a judge.
So as a Superior Court judge in the mental health, what happened was in 95 a law passed in California indicating that mental health patients were not going to be bused to the courthouse anymore, that we as a team, the legal team, would go to them and
Mhm.
do the hearings at the mental health institute, the lockdown psych wards in Orange County, our hospitals and our jails. That we finally got it, in play by 2005. And ours is the original team. We're the pilot program, actually, for the nation, I believe, to
Mhm.
start this program of going to the hospitals and seeing the patients in their room, whatever was best for them, in a kind of a dressed down setting, not
Mhm.
so formal. The problem was they would be bussed into the tank at the courthouse. So they'd be with the rapists and killers, and then
Mhm.
they would go up in the elevator to have their hearing. And it was only a capacity hearings.
Mhm.
And they were so upset. If you're bipolar or schizophrenic and you're already in a lockdown, you're shackled. I mean, it just makes it horrid.
Right.
So that's what we started this program in '05. It's our same team that's still in place. We all love our jobs. We're collaborative. All we do is work with the Orange County Mental Health Agency, social services, and we get people housing, bus passes, treatment, outpatient treatment, and just try to stabilize them as much as possible. And
Yeah.
we've been very, very successful. It's been rolled out to the state and then, nationwide. And we are just super compassionate.
Mhm.
I wish we had more hospitals. We
Yeah.
need a lot more beds. We need a lot more treatment centers. We need to triage people much earlier. Our homeless population is a big contributor. In California, obviously, it's a problem. New York, there's certain places where the homeless population really does contribute to it, but it also increases crime, drugs, everything that comes in conjunction. People self-medicate and then they're
Yeah.
on the wrong medication. I wish our country really put their arms around mental health better, understood it better, understood that it's not your fault. I mean, they're biological problems that
Sure.
need to be treated with biological measures in a very supervised way. And we don't do enough at all, not even close.
Mm.
And so we have a lot of rinse repeat in our business of people that we've been seeing for 20 years, and it just gets worse, over
Mm.
time. And their families burn out on them trying to help them. And so now they have nobody, and it's pretty lonely.
Yeah.
If you're bipolar and you're manic and nobody will help you, and then you get into trouble, whatever that might be for you, it's really hard to witness. So as a team, we go into these, now we do it remotely, but via Zoom or WebEx or whatever our means is to communicate, we try to help people. We just
Mhm.
encourage them to get the treatment, stay as long as they need, whatever they need. And
Right.
it's a great job. It's very loving and caring,
Mm.
and everyone on our team, it's nothing punitive. It's only carrots. There's no sticks. It's just carrots. We're just
Gotcha.
trying to help you.
So you're
Yeah.
not like remanding people into inpatient psychiatric care or something like that
Well,
necessarily. I guess on
we might
occasion it happens,
we might keep you a little longer than maybe you want to stay, but
but that
only for
means you need it.
triage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
triage, get you stabilized, get you everything you need so that when you do get whatever your housing, everything's intact when you
Mm.
leave, you know, as much as it can be. And we've started a lot of other collaborative courts in Orange County, even nationwide too, but Orange
Mm.
County's been that really pivotal county in the state and the nation for collaborative courts. And
Wow.
just courts that work together to collaborate toward other people's well-being. And I'm very proud to be part of a team.
Well, it sounds terrific. It sounds like the kind of program that should spread across America, almost the
Yeah,
kind of program that should be used in a lot of different settings too, not only
yeah,
mental health, but family court, domestic court, where you need
yeah.
somebody who's compassionate and looking at some of the factors involved beyond the
Well, and
law.
that the good thing is in Orange County we have veterans court, whatever it takes court. I mean, we have put our arms around every kind of homeless court, DUI court. We've tried to really encapsulate this type of collaborative setting to help people and to
Right.
keep things not from being litigated, if you
Right.
will, the fighting, trying to keep it more cooperative.
It sounds
And
great.
it works.
Yeah. It sounds like it would work. And lots of great luck to you there. Maureen Meehan is a prolific writer as well as a judge and a lawyer, as you just heard. She has written a wonderful book. It is the first in a series. It is called Dying to Ski, a Mary MacIntosh novel. It takes place in the snowy peaks of Jackson Hole, where a pharmaceutical mogul's death stirs a blizzard of betrayal and deceit. There's a number of books in that series that follow Mary MacIntosh's adventures, if you will, and her journey. And also, she has another book out, which is quite entertaining. It is called 60 Dates in 6 Months. And the sequel, of course, is called Push Away. Is that what the
Push
sequel
you
is?
away. Yeah,
Push You
push you
Away.
away.
Okay, which I think Maureen had to do at least 60 times, push them away. Sounds
Unfortunately.
great. Maureen, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me. I really do appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time as well. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on
All right.
Spotlight.
Take care.